Guess who's back? Josh is back. Josh is back. That's who's back. Josh is back. Josh is back. Josh is back. Gonna get drunk on Josh wine. It got too low for me. I had to go up the octave. Dang it. For those of you who missed it last time, Josh is the name of my high school boyfriend. Go check that video out where I first met Josh Wine, and we explored that topic thoroughly. This Josh Wine is rosé. It's all backwards. Josh is backwards. So this is a rosé, and it is really tasty. Tasty. I poured it in this really fancy antique wine goblet thingy. I'm not gonna lie, Josh makes a good wine. And if this is going to be anything like my actual relationship with Josh, then the wine will definitely show up about 3 more times because we, would break up and get back together. You'll probably have the same reaction that my parents did when Josh would just randomly show up and be like, oh, this is happening again? All right, come on in. And this might just be, my first love. And that's why I feel all nostalgia about it. But this is good wine. There's a reason why white women like this wine. And unlike high school, I'm actually going to swallow this, Josh. Where's Get Nasty with it? Right out the gate. I'll swallow a lot of this, Josh. And, of course, it's pretty. And it's pink. Yeah, it is. So today's movie is Pretty in Pink, isn't she? Pretty in Pink was released in 1986, written and directed by John Hughes. It stars his muse, Molly Ringwald, John Cryer, Andrew McCarthy, Annie Potts, James Spader, Harry Dean Stanton. Oh, there's a cameo by Gina Gershon. There's also a cameo by Christy Swanson. A little bit of trivia. Okay, so I don't know what order these were filmed in, but I know the releases was, it was like 16 Candles, and then The Breakfast Club, and then Pretty in Pink. I wanted to wear something pink, and I realized I don't have anything pink. I don't think it's my color. I'm really pale, and, I just don't think pink is my color. So I settled for this Run DMC t-shirt that I cut the neck out of because it was kind of it was like too high, and it was, I got these neck rolls, so I can't have too high of a t-shirt. Why do my boobs look so big? Hey, they're not. Don't get your hopes up. But yeah, so this is like the pinkest thing I found. And then I found this sweater, but you guys know, I can't, I'm too hot. I'm too hot to wear a sweater. I'm probably gonna down this entire bottle of wine. I'm not putting on a sweater. Here come the burps. They're starting early. Legend has it that Molly Ringwald was on the set of 16 Candles, and she kept listening to the Psychedelic Furs song, the Pretty in Pink song, and John Hughes caught wind of it and wrote this entire movie for her to star in, and wrote a whole movie around it. 'Cause she's his muse. Isn't that awesome? Wouldn't you love to have that kind of influence on somebody? Wouldn't you love to be somebody's muse? I've never been anyone's muse, not even Josh's. Although he was mine for a little while. I wrote some terrible, terrible poetry in high school for that boy. And for what? What, so I could get off to his jean zipper? And once again, I'm just gonna have to go ahead and apologize to Josh. I got my Valerie Bertinelli hair going on tonight. This is it, this is it. This is what I wanted is to go and have a ball. So walk on in and I can't be. Once again, I have to apologize to Josh. I probably wasn't the best girlfriend. And once again, I have to point out that your mom was kind of nuts. Josh, I hope that you found someone much better than me. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. God, I hope he never sees. I hope he never sees these videos. I mean, your first love. You never forget your first love. I know. I know. He's everywhere. I just realized I keep calling his mom nuts. I hope she's not dead. Or here. Listening. No, she's probably very much alive. She's probably the one who left several hateful messages on my previous video about John Travolta. Guys, I've reached a new level. I actually have haters now. I got some hateful, like pretty pointed, hateful commentary on my previous video. I think that means that I'm popular. People are watching my stuff. I don't know why, because I'm a weirdo. There were a couple of comments that I left up because they showed like true allyship and concern. The ones I ended up deleting were either from bots or from really young people. Look, let me just get this out there. I am an ally. My brother's gay, and some of my very close friends are gay. And I would never out someone. I wouldn't do that. You're preaching to the choir. But it's John, it was, I'm gonna double down on this. It's John Travolta. For f***'s sake, I never thought I would talk this much and have a serious discussion about John Travolta. That man's like 100 years old. Also, he's so far in the closet that he's the king of Narnia. It would take the jaws of life to get John Travolta out of the closet at this point. Also, be careful about correcting people who are on your team. We're on the same team, we're on the same side, and we all want the same thing, which is to create a safer world for the people that we love, okay? So when you overcorrect, especially when it comes to John Travolta, it's just annoying. I recognize the importance of online allyship and the importance of engaging in conversations like that. But you know, it's me. It's your old Aunt Boo. Friend to gays and everybody who doesn't call me a pathetic fat old lady. I am a pathetic fat old lady, but you don't have to say that. Let's move on to Pretty in Pink. This movie is almost, are you ready for this? 40 years old. It's 2024. In 2 years, this movie will be 40 years old. What is happening with time? Out of all John Hughes's movies, I like this one the least, even though I think it has a really good message. It has a terrible romantic plot, and I hate the romantic element of it. I should say this, I hate the romantic ending that is forced in this movie. I'm going to talk about the plot. Then I'm going to talk about why she should not have chosen Blaine.
Blaine? His name is Blaine? Oh, that's a major appliance. That's not a name.
And then I'm going to talk about why she can't choose Duckie either. No, sorry. So I feel like Jon Cryer is the Wish version of Matthew Broderick. Like, they wanted someone who was likable and funny and kind of goofy like Matthew Broderick, but also someone who was completely unfuckable like Jon Cryer. Come on. He's cute as Duckie only because we have been conditioned to think that the over-the-top gestures and his weird obsessive devotion to Andie and his possessiveness of her and jealousy of her, we've been conditioned by movies like this to think that that's romantic, and that's all we want, is for someone to bust into a record store and lip sync to Otis Redding and make us laugh. And that's hilarious. That was a great scene. Does not make him good boyfriend material. So this movie has a very good take on the class divide of this high school, where there is a very stark class division. Like it's like the upstairs downstairs of high schools is like the have and the have-nots. And the haves all wear suits and to school. What the is that? They all dress like they're all late for a meeting with their accountant. It's very bizarre. It's the yuppie look, which was real big in the 80s, but I don't recall people dressing like this in high school. Okay, so Andie is poor. And look, I was raised poor, and I'm just going to warn you right now, there are a lot of elements with Andie that I identify with, that I relate to. So my sympathies are solely with her. So Andie lives literally on the wrong side of the tracks, because everything is very literal and heavy-handed in teen movies, in case you didn't know. But she's a great character. She's very creative. We get this montage of her picking out her outfit for the day. There's a lot of intention in her wardrobe choices. I guess she's going to go into fashion at some point. We'll get to the dress. We'll get to the dress in a minute. So, but her mother abandoned her and her father. Her mother just left. So Andie is intelligent, creative, has a lot of integrity, and she stands out in her crowd and in the crowd. She stands out with the poor kids who all have thrift store clothes and are punk rock and shit, and she stands out amongst the Gap girls who are bitchy as hell. They're just awful. And it's Molly Ringwald, so she's gorgeous with her perfect white skin and her big old lips and her beautiful red hair. We love Molly Ringwald. We just love her. And everyone hits on her, by the way. I think that's why all the girls hate her. Because, again, she's special. She stands out. And this is every poor girl's fantasy, right? When I was growing up, and we were poor, we were below the poverty line growing up. My brother and sisters were teenagers in the 80s, and they could do that kind of thrift store chic. They made that work. And I didn't. I just looked like a poor kid with weird hand-me-downs. So it took a while for your old Aunt Boo to come into her own and, sport her little Run DMC jaggedy ass t-shirts. I still am a fashion coward. I actually dress pretty conservatively. I don't show a lot of cleavage because I don't have it, and you wouldn't want to see it even if I had it. And I tend to stick to very neutral colors. I don't know. I've just never, I feel like I have a lot of this, like a lot of razzle dazzle, and it would be way too much if I wore, sequins or lace or floral patterns more pronounced than this. I think I'd be too much of a sensory overload. Andie is best friends with Duckie. I always thought, as a child watching this movie, I always thought that his name was Duckie because he looked like a cartoon duck. I didn't know. I really think John Cryer looks like a cartoon duck. He is annoying. He is an annoying man. It follows her around like a puppy dog. He makes these really uncomfortable jokes. The funniest line is when he gets thrown into the ladies' bathroom, though, and he's like, "You guys have a candy machine in here?" That's pretty cute. And he's funny. He's kind of a jester. He's kind of a clown. He doesn't take anything seriously, and he annoys the shit out of her. It's too much. She wants to be his friend. She has permanently placed him in the friend zone, and he's head over heels in love with her. He's obsessed with her. But he's not on the level. He's not on her level. That's why she doesn't like him. That's also why she can't ultimately choose him at the end of the movie, even though he shows up in a big way for her, and it's a beautiful gesture. And everyone's like, "Oh, she should have chosen Duckie." No, she shouldn't have. No. Because Duckie that was the first kind of serious moment and mature decision that he makes throughout the entire movie. He's not on her level. Again, she is smart, she has integrity, she's going places, and people take her seriously. She's intelligent. At least most people take her seriously, except the assholes that go to her school. A day in the life of Andie is just, this school is absurd. There is a huge, huge class division in this school, and it almost makes me think that some of these kids are bussed in, or they're kind of like right on the edge of the community, because when Andie stands up for herself at school against these bitchy girls, this bitch, I think her name is Benny. I think her character's name is Benny. She looks like a first wife. She's got first wife written all over her. My antique goblet doesn't really go with my Run DMC shirt. Oh well. Whose house? Boo's house. Andie has an overdeveloped sense of responsibility that directly comes from her mother abandoning her. Andie has what is known as an abandonment wound, and she's going to have to take care of that. She's going to have to do some therapy as she gets older. As a person with my own abandonment wound, you got to nurse that thing, and it shows up. And it shows up in Andie's world in this movie in a big way when she gets ghosted. And that shit sticks. If you want to hurt, really hurt someone with an abandonment wound, ghost them. But why would you want to hurt someone with an abandonment wound? So her father looks like he just fell off the boxcar, like he's just a traveling hobo. Like he's just looking all kinds of homeless, and she has to take care of him. She's parenting her own father because clearly he has not dealt with his own abandonment wound left from their mother, just hightailing it out of there, probably because he looks homeless. So yeah, she's a pretty deep, well-rounded character. We're rooting for her, and don't with our heroine because she's a good one. So yeah, the people at school, they suck, and even the teachers let her down. I feel for Andie because she has no real adults showing up for her in her life except for the Annie Potts character, who's a wackadoo and is another person that Andie has to remind to take care of certain things. And Andie has that responsibility at the record store and take care of her emotionally in a couple of scenes. Like, Andie needs a stable adult to help her navigate all of this shit. God, she's gonna need so much therapy. Everyone at the school, even the adults, remind Andie of her social status and of the class division. From the students, even when the principal, which she so eloquently explains why she's in the principal's office, for standing up for herself when the first wife goes off on her, and is they're such bitches to her. And then we have Steph, played by James Spader. Where the hell is James Spader from? Where the hell is that accent from? He has the poshest New England accent I've ever heard. It's just kind of ridiculous. Where did he get that? I think James Spader's dad was like a oil baron and his mom was a brandy snifter, and out came this very posh accent. He hits on Andie. He recognizes she's different, and he wants a piece of it. He finds her irresistible, and she shoots him down, and he's not used to that. He's like a walking roofie. That man, and he wears suits to school. Everyone else at the school looks like they're about in their 20s or 30s. James Spader looks like he's on his third wife, and he's cheating on her with the prostitute that he snorts cocaine off of in a hotel room while he's awaiting his trial for his involvement in like a savings and loan scandal. The way he speaks, we love it as an adult, but as a teenager, it's so weird. It's so weird that he speaks this way. We're gonna go play doubles with Muffy and Margaret and have Manhattans afterward at the club. I mean, you can't be serious, Blaine. If date rape is a person, that's James Spader in this movie. Not in general. And then we get Blaine, who asks Andie out on a date in the cutest way. Blaine is a richie. He's a rich guy. You're a rich guy, and you've gone too far because you don't have any Josh wine. Andrew McCarthy was 80s cute. His look wouldn't fly now. And I'm going to tell you why. Because he's twitchy, and he does that weird eyeball acting thing. You know what I'm talking about. I think he and Claire Danes went to the same acting school for eyeballs. It's a total affectation of when he's acting and he's in an uncomfortable situation, but it makes him look like he's about to dissociate and become his own mother. Because it's like this. This is what his eyeballs do. He's like this. I'm making myself dizzy. Did you know that Josh has a screw top? This one does. The rosé do. I have a heavy pour. Oh my God, I'm gonna go through those bottles so fast. Pretty and pink. So Andrew McCarthy is all twitchy and odd, and his eyeballs are weird. And yeah, it's like he's about to dissociate and change identities. So he's, Mom, I'm home from school. What's for dinner? Well, darling, we're having spaghetti and meatballs. I know it's your favorite. Thanks, Mom. You're welcome, sweetie. I love you so much. You want to know what the fucked up part is? I actually practiced that ahead of time. That commenter was right. I am pretty pathetic. We understand why she likes him, even with his weird eyeballs and the fact that he's really not that great looking. It's because he's nice. He's nice to her, and he seems pretty normal, and that he picked her up in the best freaking way possible. He slid into her DMs. It was like the 80s equivalent of someone sliding into your DMs, and he did that, and he sent her a pic, but it wasn't a dick pic, so way to go, Andrew McCarthy, for not doing that. Andie is kind of smitten by that, and she really is attracted to him because, you know, like I said, in the 80s, Andrew McCarthy was 80s attractive. She ends up agreeing to go on a date. Okay, here's where the cracks start to show. He takes her to a party with all of his friends. He thinks this is a good idea. I don't think he's empathetic. I actually think he's kind of a fucking idiot. He takes her to a party, a bunch of people. She expresses immediately that she doesn't want to go. She tells him, that's probably not a good idea. With your friends? No, I don't think so. She's pretty upfront and honest that she does not want to go to this party, and he takes her anyway. That's a red flag. And then, of course, what happens at the party is exactly what she thought was going to happen at the party. The sad thing is, if you notice, the house that they end up going to, it's Steph's house, right? The douche canoe. And it's the house that she points out to Duckie in the beginning of the movie where they're in her car and she slows down. She's like, that one. I love that one the most. And I bet the people who live inside of it don't even appreciate it like I do. They'll never see it the way I see it. And God damn it, she's right. She's right. And this movie, there's so many good things about the movie, which is the soundtrack is amazing. It's got some great new wave tunes, it's got psychedelic furs, got orchestral maneuvers in the dark, it's got some other things. Oh, Andrew Dice Clay is in this. Huh. So Blaine asks her to prom on their first date. They end up going to this weird bar. How's she getting into a bar? I never understood this bar. They just let minors in. I guess she's cool enough to get in, but they end up going to this bar, and Duckie is kind of an asshole to Blaine. He ends up kissing Annie Potts. He's annoying. He's just annoying. Every gesture he does is too over the top. And the one sweet thing that he does at the ending is not enough to make him a viable companion for Andie. Okay, so Andrew McCarthy asks her out to prom, and she says yes. And so she's super excited about going to prom. They have like 1 or 2 dates. I think they go on like 2 dates. Steph gives an ultimatum to Andrew McCarthy, Blaine. Ugh, I hate that name. No offense if your name is Blaine, but ugh. So Steph gives an ultimatum to Blaine, who's like, if you're gonna get with this chick, you're sacrificing our friendship for it. And he is the worst. Ugh. And Andrew McCarthy, you know, he kind of claps back at some of the shitty things that Steph says about Andie. He calls her like trash. He calls her subpar ass or something like that. And he's doing that because she's rejected him so many times, and he's jealous. And Andrew McCarthy doesn't really stand up for her. And one of the first things he says to her is, you really don't think she has something? And then Steph is like, no, I don't. Who cares? If you think she has something, then, which you clearly do, because you make out with her a lot, which is also awkward. I hate the way they kiss in this movie. Ugh. She's got too much lips and he doesn't have enough lips, and then it just makes their kissing all weird and awkward. Molly Ringwald starts getting excited, and her homeless dad, buys her a dress for the prom, and it's pink, and it's so pretty. I just got the title of the movie. Pretty in Pink, isn't sure. And then they have the kind of this intense moment. It's very dramatic because she's like, where'd you get the money for this dress? And he's like, oh, I turned a few tricks for it. No, he didn't say that. I was just making sure you were paying attention. He's like, I found some money. Who is this dad? Kidding. The interesting thing about their relationship is even though he is a shitty provider, he's very emotionally available to her. And they have a really nice rapport. She's very respectful to him. But then again, he's the parent and he needs to take care of her. And it's not right. It's not a good relationship, but it's a good friend. They're like friends, and they really support each other, but their dynamic is off. The responsibility the shared responsibility is not healthy. They're just not very healthy, but they are very loving. I can relate to that shit too. Drink it down, Carrie. Drink it down. So after this whole conversation with Steph, the wheels start turning in Andrew McCarthy's head. And he already asked her to prom. And then she calls him, and he avoids her call. He ghosts her. Before ghosting was even a thing. He just totally avoids her. Is that Blaine? Again, Andie has abandonment wounds, and he's taking his fingers and like sticking them in there. She ends up having to confront him because he avoids her. She ends up cornering him after class by his locker, and she kicks his ass pretty good, and she gives him what for, because she's calling him out on the bullshit that he's doing. He's being a fucking coward. He had his mom, who's probably just a skeleton with a wig on in his attic. He had his mom screen his phone calls, and she's like, just admit it. Just admit that you are ashamed to be seen with me. And he's like, it's not it. And he makes up some bullshit story about asking someone else. That's bullshit. So he has zero integrity. He lies to it. So let's just review how shitty Blaine is, okay? He's shitty. I hate Blaine. He love bombs her with this really cool trick to get her attention and to get her to go out with him. He takes her to a party and humiliates her. And he asks her to prom and then ghosts her. And she has to confront him and corner him in order for him to talk to her. And she is entitled to every bit of anger that she has because, she just lets him have it. Good girl. Good. Stand up for yourself. So Duckie overhears all of this, and Steph overhears all of this. And then Steph has to get one last jab in. And then Steph is all like, any broad that talks to me like that wouldn't be worth pursuing. And then Duckie overhears him shit-talking Andie, and Duckie plows into him, and they end up fighting. This is where a lot of girls would be like, that's why she should pick Duckie, because he fights for her. That's what friends do. He should be fighting for her. Anyone that knows her should be fighting for her. She's a good person. you know, good friends are people who fight for you in the rooms that you're not in. That's a meme I read. Again, it doesn't mean that he's at her level. Duckie doesn't have ambition. He doesn't take anything seriously. And he's just not at the level. Plus, he's got that face. You can think he's cute. I think that's subjective. Taste is subjective, but come on. Come on. We've all seen how John Cryer has aged. I know I'm not no supermodel, but John Cryer, for crying out loud. Ugh. He's gotten progressively less funny. Progressively less. It's a contradiction of terms. You're an oxymoron. So Andie, with her determination, her indomitable spirit, her red hair, she's like, I'm going to prom. They're not gonna break me. And that's beautiful. And then she creates the ugliest dress I've ever seen in my life. It looks like she hot glued it together. If this girl is going into fashion, it's not a good look. You know, she does have a good cold shoulder moment, but then everything else is so ugly. The color is pretty. The dress is terrible. It's a terrible design. It looks like she just wrapped a piece of paper around a Barbie doll. That's how I used to make my Barbie's dresses. Just wrap a tube, just like a tube around her body. It's bad. It's an ugly dress. She shows up and in her ugly dress. And who's there but Duckie? And so, you know, she and Duckie had a little tiff over Blaine. And Duckie had to accept that she's keeping him in the friend zone forevers. But this is where the movie kind of toys with you, because it makes you think maybe the big reveal is Duckie is there. They run to each other. They hug. They're so glad to see each other. They're each other's rock. And it's like the two poor kids go into prom just to with the rich kids. And we love that for them. This is their moment. They are so poor. They just look awful. They just look terrible. Their outfits are awful. And Duckie's hair. What's up with his hair? It just makes his head look gigantic. And that's coming from me, and I have a gigantic head. When I say someone's head is big, it's big. And then Blaine sees them. Then he comes over to her. He says,
You don't need me to say I'm sorry.
No, you need to apologize. You with our girl. You poked at her abandonment wound. You triggered her. You with her. You made her feel like shit. You need to apologize. Instead, he gaslights her into telling her what she does and doesn't need. Why don't you ask her, do you need for me to apologize? Or how about instead of asking, since you already know the answer, you know you hurt her, she pushed you into a locker, if you didn't figure that shit out, why don't you just apologize? Say you're sorry for lying to her, for ghosting her, for making her wonder what was wrong with her, that you couldn't just man up and have a conversation with her. This is where these stupid teen dramas fail generations of women, because he gives this completely undeserved monologue where he's talking about, you always said that you couldn't believe in someone. You couldn't believe in someone who didn't believe in you. Well, I believed in you. You just didn't believe in me. The why would she believe in you? You ghosted her. You avoided her calls, and then you lied to her face. You googly-eyed son of a bitch. It's the most undeserved speech moment It is a melodramatic monologue. It means nothing. Here's how that conversation should have gone, okay? Here's how it should have played out. He should have said, I'm so sorry. You look beautiful, even though she looked stupid. I was wrong to do what I did. I'm scared of a relationship with you. I'm scared of what this could mean to my family and friends, but I was scared before. I'm ready to try this again. Please forgive me for with you. As much as I love John Hughes, the moment at the end of this movie, it ain't it. It is not deserved. And then she could have decided whether or not to take him back based on his level of accountability and his level of maturity and whatever. I mean, of course, they're teenagers. They're going to break up in 3 months anyway, and then get back together a couple more times. Remember that? Remember prom, Josh? Yeah, he does. And that song, that OMD song, it's like, I touch you once, I touch you twice, I'm gonna find out who's naughty or nice. I don't know the words, but that song plays for a good 10 minutes. And he's got so many speeches that he makes one to Steph on his way out, like, she thinks you're shit, and deep down you know she's right. And why didn't he just say that? Why couldn't he have said that earlier and spared all of this drama? I think these romance movies, these dramas, they make us think that big gestures are romance. I think that's, the social media of it all and the promposals of, what the is a promposal? Don't do that. Don't let your child do that. They are children still. I know they're teenagers, but technically they're children. Don't let them do a promposal. That's the most frivolous, petty shit I've ever heard of. We think of romance as like these huge gestures. We can deduce from this movie that love in any form, whether it's parental love, friendship, romance, it's showing up. It's showing up for the people that you love consistently in ways that they need. It's not a speech. It's not melodrama. It's not jerking someone around just to make yourself feel better. It is showing up and being consistent. That's what Andie needed. Even Duckie falls for that bullshit speech that Blaine makes. Even Duckie is like, well, he didn't come with anyone. So? Good. He doesn't deserve to have a date. So even Duckie is Team Blaine now. But even Duckie, like, sacrificing his own feelings and telling Andie, you better go get him. He's coming to terms. It's showing some maturity. It's showing some growth, but he's still not at the level, and he does not deserve to be with Andie, and also his face. So she runs after him, and they don't even talk. They have no more conversation. They just start making out in front of his BMW. Fucking Blaine. And that's it. It ends. Nope. I don't think so. I know we want these big moments in our romance movies, but this could have been, I don't know. This just wasn't. For such a serious movie, it has such a contrived ending. It's why I never quite liked this movie, even though, again, great character. It's my favorite Molly Ringwald character because she's not just walking around pouting. She actually stands up for herself, and she's a very well-rounded character. It's got a lot of things working for it as a movie, but the romance element, Fartsville. It's Fartsville. Rosé, all day. Well, Josh, we I didn't quite finish off the bottle, but that's okay. You know, I don't need to every time. Josh, I'm sure I will see you, you know, when you break up with whoever you're dating and come back around my way. Oh, Josh. That's it. It's tricky to rock around. That's right on time. It's tricky. It's tricky, 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 tricky. I like Andie's friend who tells the one girl, I hope they shrivel up and fall off. And then the teacher is like, what? And she's like, her breasts. I hope her breasts shrivel up and fall off. I like that friend. I like that girl.